Thousands of migrants have been making their way to the United States border after former President Trump's Title 42 immigration law expired. Now, the rule had enabled the swift expulsion of migrants. Its expiration has prompted a rush on the border, as you can see from these live pictures coming into us from both sides of the United States border. These pictures coming into us from Mexico. This is an evolving story. So for more, let's bring in Sky News Washington correspondent Annalise Nielsen, who joins us live now. So Annalise, this law, it expired an hour ago. We've already had a number of attempted crossings into the southern United States. What are you observing out of it all?
We've had tens of thousands of people crossing over the US-Mexico border in the last week in anticipation of Title 42 expiring. Now, this was a pandemic health order that was implemented by Donald Trump. He used these emergency powers to say we're not going to be processing migrants at the border. It's supposed to be a disincentive to say, look, if you come over here, we're going to turn you around and send you right back. Essentially, the catch and release program that was widely criticised at the time. In that time, the numbers dropped. But since the Biden administration came in, there was this sense that there was a glimpse of daylight for especially people smugglers. The numbers have gone up since the Biden administration came in significantly in the last year, 2.7 million people. And now this uncertainty being exploited around what happens at the expiration of this order is what we're seeing happening at the border right now. Tens of thousands of people have been crossing over. There's about 24,000 border agents trying to police this, but they're increasingly chaotic scenes as people make these attempts. Many of them have been gathering at the border since this was implemented because there was that uncertainty, there was that attempt to try and exploit loopholes. But now with the expiration of this, people are hoping that they'll be kept in this asylum process and able to stay in the United States. The Biden administration was very firm today, saying we're not going to be processing any asylum claims for anyone who comes over the border illegally. You'll be sent back, you'll be barred from re-entry for at least 5 years, you could face criminal conviction. But the problem is when a narrative takes hold, especially in an area like this, which is so dominated by people smugglers, the message is hard to get through to these people. You see these people have barely anything with them. The idea that they'd be paying close attention to US news is hard to communicate, but the narrative certainly gets spread. I know when I was down at the US-Mexico border and we were talking to migrants in Reynosa at the camp there, they would say to us quite unprompted, oh, the Biden administration's in, so we think we have a hope now. And this is what we're seeing now. And just that panic that if they don't try, this might be their last chance, because there is this uncertainty around the processing. There's been a federal court order from a judge based in Florida around the processing of Title 42 exemptions now that they can't release anyone from their custody without a court date. And that's dragging all of the processing time out. Previously, they could release someone with a login to, in the future, access a date, which might take years to come up. Now they're not being released without that. And so this is why we're going to see the migrant centres overflow. We already are. 3 cities along the border have had to declare states of emergency because they've been so overrun with migrants. And the ones that are being processed are being sent out to other cities. We've seen a Chicago police station there overrun with migrants with nowhere else to go, sleeping in the foyer. We've got them in Florida, the governor there already working to round them up and send them to other centres that simply don't have the capacity. And this is a growing crisis for the Biden administration.